Welcome, Wargamers, to the super rough and worn down corners of the Mortal Realms, because today we are talking about Downbringers Book 5, Shadow of the Crone, and this is video 2 of its coverage. Now, I mentioned before that this book was split up a little bit differently than the other ones. Instead of having two stories going on of the various Crusades, instead this one has a story for the Crusade and for Hammerhal Aqshy on the Aqshy side, and then it's all the Crusade on the Ghyran side. So it's actually 3 stories total. Yesterday we talked all about what's going on in Hammerhal Aqshy, how they staved off a massive Flesh Eater Court's invasion, or corruption I should say, from the heart of the populace. And we know that they are being besieged currently by a few Khorne armies. But those armies were waiting for the Crusade to leave because it would draw out people and resources from Hammerhal Aqshy. And so today we are going to pivot, we're going to refocus and go back here to talking about the Crusade of Fire. Now, one thing I'd like to add up top here, if you like this video and you're interested in any hobby supplies whatsoever, or any kind of Games Workshop models, please consider using one of the affiliate links in my link tree down below. You'll see exactly how much money you save, and every single time you use those links, it goes directly to supporting me, my wife, our cats, the channel, the whole thing, and I am really grateful for each and every one of you. They also keep the videos here ad-free, and it's just a wonderful thing. I also want to throw a shout out for Goonhammer if you're looking to learn more about the next edition when it rolls out. They're going to have tons of great articles to get you up to date and in the know with AOS 4.0. Now, remembering kind of where the Crusade was in our last discussion about them in the last book, they successfully drove off Neve Blacktalon. They got their well water poisoned, lost most of their professional military and logistics arm, and really the crux of that entire book for this side of the Crusade was Pontifex Zenestra trying to figure out how to undo the water poisoning. There was a nearby ruins that they went ahead into. It was filled with undead, but they were fought off, but in total, this was a net positive. They were able to use the power of the location to heal their water fountain. Things kind of ended on a somewhat positive note. And it's important to note here that these folks don't know what we discussed, that this place pretty much gets wiped out every 107 years like we do. And it's here, wait for it, that Pontifex Zenestra decides to settle her new city. And I dang near fell out of my seat for slapping my forehead so hard. Because I was like, what a simple plot thing. If we're just going to settle here in this place that is an absolute ruin, nothing could go wrong. And then I thought about it for a bit. And the book actually, I will say, does a good deal of describing her logic. So here we go. I'm going to give you the Zenestra reason of why we're planting our new city here. The Grand Enclaves of Hammerhal that sent out these Crusades had selected regions where good cities can be founded, meaning there's places to farm, there's water, probably mineral resources, something of value nearby, whatever they're looking for in a city. However, this Crusade has a few realities that they have to meet when it comes to those ideal locations. First of all, not all those spots are even an option anymore. All of them are said to be far to the east of her current location, so no matter what, it's going to be an immense amount of travel to get to any of their prearranged places. They've just deviated so hard. But remember that this is a bus of fanatical lunatics, and they've been taking the wheels off of just about every cart that they have in a show of their religious displays, driven further by madness and zealotry. The point is that some of these locations aren't an option because they literally don't have the mechanisms to traverse the terrain. You need carts, wagons, and stuff to go up these hills. You don't have them anymore. So already a lot of their, pre-game, pre-Crusade calculations have already fallen apart. Then you also have to consider how many survivors are actually still a part of this Crusade now, knowing that they would lose more on the way to anywhere else that they would go. Even if they had a better location, are you going to have enough people to arrive there, should we leave here, to found a successful colony? Now, those are some hard logistical things to have to, overcome, but there are also some, realpolitik things going on here, too. For example, things that don't kind of fit onto a paper when you're doing math and equations about how you should proceed. For example, how much further can you actually push these people? There's no equation for that. But not just that, not how farther can you push them, but why would you want to? Like, this specific site is the place of an epic battle where they beat death forces and claimed it for Sigmar. They had a display of her power, which, you know, was a big blinding light that destroyed a necromancer. She turned the rivers of blood into water, like an actual biblical miracle here when she cleansed the well. There's just a lot of significance. How much of that goodwill do you cash in when you make everyone start moving again? That's real rough. And other things complicate this decision as well, and act as a way of guiding us into our particular story today. Until, for example, the mountainous regions immediately next to this city is called the Ashen Mont. And when Zenestra sent out a few scouts, they returned with great news. It seems that whatever civilization was here before had already tried to start mining the mountains, and there's an entire steamworks built in. Some of them are already pumping like realmstone from Aqshy out of it, meaning this place is a gold mine. There's money to be made, there's arcane power to wield, and Pontifex Zenestra wants it. And so the order is given. Secure this place for the God King. The metaliths are unloaded and then erected in place. They basically act like floating fortresses. The remaining dispossessed clans are sent to scout and secure the mines and basically map it out for everybody, find weak points, defend them, which honestly they loved, right? Within the mines, these dwarves are just like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be in a mine and away from crazy wheel people. They're like having a ball, right? And they're looking around, they're seeing all this stuff that's already been built, and they're kind of putting maps together and being like, wow, they made a lot of progress here. How did they get wiped out so stinking hard? And it's during this initial cavern exploration that they find a realm gate that leads directly to Shyish. And it becomes immediately clear this has to be a thing that the previous tenants, I guess you could say, of the city must have accidentally stumbled in upon. Because there's no defenses built yet. It's just like a small cavernous wall collapsed and boom, there's a realm gate. Whereas everything else in the mines is very well, you know, reinforced, and like I said, there's piping and mechanisms and all this kinds of stuff. The leader of this Dwarden party sends a group of scouts back to go report on what's going on. Because, I mean, if nothing else, this is a massive security concern, right? Like, we should definitely at least seal something up. And just as the scouts leave, undead begin pouring in from every direction into this chamber where the realm gate was. It's Nighthaunt specifically. And the dispossessed mining crew is absolutely killed to a man, their leader's still trying to fight as best as he can, as Reikenor the Grimhailer himself rises from the ground. Now we learn in a bit of an omniscient narrator scene, Reikenor is here because there is a soul thief out and about in Aqshy. One that works for the God King Sigmar, no less, and he's here to put a stop to it. And also, claim this place for Nagash. Now, of course, it's not just Reikenor, but his Pyregeist flock as well. I did a video on them recently. Go check it out to go see what they do for armies. It's pretty terrifying stuff, but basically a bunch of ethereal flamethrowers made their way into the realm of fire. And Reikenor plans to basically step in and light this whole mountain up on fire. Not only is he going to wipe out the forces here, he's going to find this soul thief. We're going to set this entire range of mountains alight so that Nagash has a defined foothold within Aqshy. But our camera moves back over to the scouts who were dispatched to warn Zenestra. They do not outpace the threat by much with their stunty little legs, but when Zenestra is told that there's a ton of Nighthaunt coming right now, her face of confidence just breaks for just like a quick second. I mean, she re-rallies and regains stuff, but she's just like, oh, man, you gotta be kidding me. But orders are given, lines are formed up, and the mountains erupt in blue and green flame as the Nighthaunt descend upon the founding city of Embergard. Most of the soldiery, in response, did absolutely nothing, and by that I mean that their guns, their attacks, nothing was hurting the Nighthaunt with their ethereal effect. And if you aren't aware, the way around the ethereal stuff in the Age of Sigmar universe is by either magic, so like a magical sword or whatever, but also faith and conviction. when you say a prayer to Sigmar, you know, you ask the God King to bless your blade, it imbues that weapon with purpose, direction, will. And that's the difference between life and death. It's the difference between a shield that stops a Nighthaunt's blow, a sword that pierces through them and, you know, discorporeates them, and the weapons that just go straight through them and do nothing. So my point is, the average citizens and soldiers here don't have the strength of will, the faith, the perseverance to do much damage. But there is one part of Pontifex's army that has no such problems, and that is the religious zealots. The flagellants are out there with their whips and their chains and their maces, and they are tearing ghosts up. Because if all you need to have is, you know, a surety of faith, then these guys are hitting on wounding on a 2-up with a reroll, ignore ethereal. Like, it's just madness. However, the problem is there's just not enough zealots to overwhelm the amount of Nighthaunt coming out them. I just kind of like that they took the time to explain, man, all these cities of Sigmar guys are dying real hard. And then there's just the crazy church guys on the other side having a grand time. And it's at this point when Reikenor emerges from the mountain, and he basically kind of takes in the battlefield from the sky and points out Zenestra. She is the soul thief. At least from his mind, whatever arrangement, if you haven't seen the Pontifex Zenestra model, she has like a corpse of the last Pontifex on her little ride, the palanquin she's on. Whatever arrangement her and that corpse have is a form of soul thievery in the eyes of Nagash. Basically, the soul is being bound or kept on the mortal plane. It should go to Shyish. So he's found the thief. Reikenor goes in for the kill and is repulsed by lightning that the Pontifex fires in him. He just deeply underestimated her. He takes a nice wound for it, and he retreats. Now, the sidebar here is interesting because it kind of fills in the gap, because I read this at first and I was like, wow, that was a very anticlimactic battle. But essentially what this was Reikenor was going for an early knockout. He just wanted to snipe the Soul Thief to knock that, you know, to check that off of his list, and then he can go back to his ritual. But she made it difficult. He underestimated her. But he's not really upset about it, because remember, he's going to light this whole mountain on fire, and they're going to go with it. So it's like, he really cares. I didn't need to knock out this errand first. I could come on the back end and do it. And so he departs, and there's initially a lot of cheering, right? All the different cities of Sigmar folks like, oh my gosh, we beat them, we finally destroyed death, and stuff like that. But the Pontifex has a plan. She's going to take her most faithful followers into the heart of the Ashenmount, and they need to shut the gate, using their faith as their shield and sword. The idea is that the rest of the crew, the cities of Sigmar, will stay up here and keep things clear of Nighthaunt. Which makes sense, right? Like, okay, well, we can't just let them come through the door with impunity. We have to go shut the dang door. Let's just do that right now as a counterattack. I think that makes perfect sense. However, I will slip in here that for me, as someone who's just a casual reader of these books, what I'm going to describe to you, the last part of this story, felt very rushed, and there's no other way to communicate that other than just saying it flatly. Pontifex Zenestra goes into the mountains to try and purify it. The heat inside of them is incredible, because Reikenor is using his Pyregeist to basically make all those Realmstone mining pipes explode with fire in a mass ritual. Zenestra finds the Realm Gate to Shyish, where all this was going down. Reikenor is struck down pretty easily as Zenestra unleashes a prayer of faith and fortitude on her followers. The Grimhailer and his army are driven back through the Realm Gate, and Zenestra falls to the ground, passed out again, now for the second time in this book, and like the 5th time in this campaign series. This girl loves her naps, and I'm not opposed to it. And that's really where the story of the Crusade ends. Like I said, it was a bit rushed. They yada-yada'd that pretty hard, in my opinion. But there's still a lot to talk about here, so I would like to discuss why is this cool. Well, in my last video, I felt like the Aqshy side of the Crusade stopped doing things, or at least in the last Crusade book, they stopped doing things. And so I do feel like this was meant to address some of that, like having half of the Aqshy side be in Hammerhall was awesome. But again, here we still aren't going forward very much. They founded the city of Embergard, which was an interesting one. Because if the colony can work, it'll be massive. She's established it as a place of faith, so maybe at some point we can work up to the Hallowed Knights getting a keep there or something. But really all that happened, like in a narrative sense, as far as, you know, moving the plot of the Crusades forward, all that really happened was the book opened and Zenestra went, this place is good, and then it's like several pages of, no, it was most certainly not good. That said, I have a lot of speculation as to what this is about, and I'm going to offer no spoilers, but GW has already shown us that the fourth edition of the game will mostly be happening in Aqshy, and so I'm very curious about how this city plant works into that. So entertaining if nothing else, but also I want to know why Nagash and the Nighthaunt had such a interest in this mountain. Because we all know Skaven, you know, from the trailers of 4th, it seems like they're going to be the main enemy. It's very interesting to me. When you think about the wilds of Aqshy, so many armies have various reasons to be there. It's just so cool, and I'm very interested to see how they bring them all together, and if and how Emberguard fits into that. So friends, I would love to know your thoughts. What do you think of the Crusade of Fire Aqshy? And let me ask you this, who has it worse? The people back at Hammerhall or these guys? I'm going to say Hammerhall, I think, has it worse. Because trying to fight off all the armies on the outside while you're also being poisoned with dead people water sounds like a bummer. And so does like finding your home of safety and then having like a whole gateway to hell underneath it. I guess they're both kind of downers, but I'm gonna go with the one that's less like immediately gross with the dead bodies bobbing and all. I would love to hear your thoughts and your arguments. Who has it worse, Hammerhall Aqshy or the Crusade of Fire that left from it? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below, and we're going to continue this story with the overarching narrative of the Ghyran Crusade starting tomorrow. So thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Happy wargaming.